Perfect, thank you. Again, thank you and welcome. Thanks for coming to our webinar about the WIC and Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Programs. This webinar is hosted by Agricultural Institute of Marin, and it's funded in part by the California Department of Food and Agriculture through the California Nutrition Incentive Program, or CNIP. This is an informational webinar mainly for farmers and market managers who want to learn more about the WIC and Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Programs and how the new electronic payment system will work. Please note that this is not the mandatory WIC training that farmers and market managers need to complete after they apply. That's a separate training that WIC will schedule with you after you submit an application. So we're going to go over today's agenda briefly. We're going to start with an overview of the Farmers Market Nutrition Program and this year's transition to an electronic payment system. And then we will go over the requirements to participate. We'll also briefly walk you through how to submit your application, and we'll share some resources available to support you during the transition and hold some time for questions. Throughout the webinar, to minimize background noise, please make sure to keep yourselves on mute unless we call on you to speak. And as a reminder, the presentation is being recorded and we will be posting the recording and slides after the webinar. My name is Annie, and I'm going to be your main presenter today. I manage our Newark Farmers Market on Sundays, and I'm also AIM's Nutrition Access Program Specialist. On the webinar with us today is Lauren Betts, our Small Business Support Program Manager. She's going to be monitoring the chat and taking care of any tech issues that pop up. And if you haven't yet, please go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat by typing your name and the farm or organization that you're with. All right, so we're going to start with an overview about the Farmers Market Nutrition Program, often called FMNP. This is a program that provides funds to help low-income Californians purchase fresh California-grown fruits and vegetables at farmers markets. It actually involves two programs. One is for WIC, which stands for Women, Infants, and Children, and the other one is for low-income seniors. Both programs run annually from May 1st through November 30th. And in the past, the recipients would get booklets of paper checks that they'd spend with the farmers. This year, there will be no more paper checks. Instead, the recipients will get a card with a QR code on the front, and the entire payment system will be online. And I just also wanted to mention there is a third program involved called WIC Cash Value Benefits, or WIC CVB. These are the regular WIC benefits that recipients get on their WIC card every month throughout the whole year. And in the past, those benefits were mainly used by recipients only at grocery stores because it was very difficult to use them at farmers markets. But with this transition this year to the electronic payment system, they will be able to much more easily use the funds at farmers markets, which could provide farmers with a good revenue boost. Next slide, please. All right, so as y'all might already know, we use a lot of acronyms when we're talking about food access programs and the government agencies involved. So I made us a little chart to get ourselves situated and understand how the funds flow through the system and reach the farmers at the end. As you can see here, the Farmers Market Nutrition Program, again, consists of two programs. On the left side is the WIC program, which is run by the California Department of Public Health, or CDPH. The WIC FMNP and WIC CVB funds are distributed to recipients by local WIC agencies, and then those customers will take their new WIC cards to shop at farmers markets with authorized fruit and vegetable farmers. And then on the right-hand side here, we have the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, which is run by the California Department of Food and Agriculture, or CDFA. On the senior side, the benefits are distributed to the recipients by local area agencies on aging. And then those customers, same thing, they take their cards to the farmers markets to shop with authorized fruits, vegetables, and honey sellers. For both programs, at some specific locations, some agencies and organizations might give out extra funds to incentivize recipients to go and shop at farmers markets, and we will talk more about these later. Throughout this presentation, you'll hear me saying WIC authorized and WIC authorization frequently. This is because CDPH WIC manages the application process for both programs. When farmers and market managers get their WIC application approved by CDPH, they're automatically authorized to participate in both the WIC program and the senior program. And later in this webinar, we will be talking about how to get authorized. All right, so this year's transition from paper FMNP checks to electronic benefits cards. One thing I did want to make clear is that the transition to the electronic payment system is only for the WIC and senior farmers market nutrition programs. For CalFresh and Market Match, that will still be on tokens and script. So if you participated in the FMNP program in previous years, you might remember seeing the checks on the left that customers would come and pay with. This year, there will be no more checks. Instead, the customers will be getting a card that has a QR code on the front. And the farmers who are authorized to participate in the program will then log into their online vendor account and scan the code using their phone or tablet camera to accept payment. There are a couple benefits to this new electronic payment system. The payments, if you're participating, the payments will be automatically deposited to your bank. Another plus is that you can ring up purchases in any dollar amount. For example, if somebody buys $6.50 of fruit, you can charge them exactly $6.50. You won't need to help them add more fruit to their purchase to get their total up to that $10 voucher amount. And all the information that you need will be stored in your vendor account, including your transaction history, deposits to your bank, and other reports. And lastly, most importantly, the new electronic payment system makes it much easier for WIC recipients to use those monthly WIC cash value benefits, or CVB, at farmers markets all year round. In the past, they really only used those at grocery stores because farmers had to have a special machine in order to take those old WIC cards. But with the new system, it will be much easier, and that could potentially lead to a revenue boost for farmers. All right, so next we're going to talk about the cards that you will see if you participate in the program. For the WIC card will contain both WIC FMNP funds, which is $30 per household per year, as well as the WIC CVB cash value benefits funds, which vary depending on family size, but are generally a lot more than the FMNP funds and are year round. The WIC card will have a front and back. So on the front, there will be a QR code, and that's for farmers markets. On the back, there will be the standard magnetic stripe, which you don't need to worry about because that is for grocery stores. As we mentioned earlier, the WIC cards are issued through WIC local agencies to income eligible families. Something to note, though, is that families who already have the old card may need to go and exchange that out for the new one that has the QR code. And lastly, the WIC card can be used to purchase fresh fruits and vegetables only. If you're a honey-only producer, you cannot accept the WIC payments, but you can accept the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program payments, which we'll talk about in the next slide. Okay, so this is what the Senior Farmers Market card looks like. Each recipient gets $50 per year on the card. And just like with the WIC card, there's a QR code on the front for farmers to scan to take payment. Senior cards are issued to recipients through local area agencies on aging, and there is a new card issued annually. These can be spent on fresh fruits, vegetables, and raw honey. So as we briefly mentioned earlier, in some places there will be incentive programs available that provide extra funds to WIC families and seniors to really encourage them to shop at farmers markets. Some of those will be issued directly onto recipients' cards as electronic funds, while other programs will be distributing paper vouchers. And the availability of these programs is dependent on the location and grant funding. So for example, AIM's partner organization, Extra Food, received grant funding to distribute senior bonus bucks in Marin County, and those can be spent at AIM's Marin County markets. However, those coupons will not be able to be used at AIM's San Francisco and Alameda County markets. As many of us have experienced, things can get very, very confusing with all the different vouchers and food access programs going on at our markets. So farmers market managers, please make sure you communicate with farmers at your markets about which vouchers can and cannot be accepted. And then farmers, if you're ever in doubt about whether a voucher can be accepted at the specific market you're at, make sure to check in with your market managers. All right. In this next section, we're going to talk about how to become authorized to accept the new electronic payments. There are a few requirements that farmers and market managers have to meet to participate. So for farmers need to complete the new WIC Farmer Application. And something to note is that even if you were authorized last year and you weren't otherwise needing to renew, you do need to complete this new application still, because there are new terms and conditions related to the new electronic payment system. And we will go into a bit more detail later in this webinar about how to complete the application and what to expect in the authorization process. Here are a couple things that you must have in order to become authorized. Of course, completing the application, and then you will need to either get your market manager's signature on the application or submit the first page of your CPC. After your application is processed, you'll need to set up a vendor account, which will require you to, one, submit a W-9 form with a tax ID, and then of course have a bank account for those direct deposits to go into. And to run transactions, you're going to need a smartphone or a tablet that has a camera and internet access, or a cellular data plan. And on to requirements for market managers. So WIC authorized farmers can only take WIC and senior FMNP payments at farmers markets that are also WIC authorized. So market managers, it's important to make sure that your market's WIC authorization is current. To check if it's current, you can email that email address at the bottom of this slide. And if your authorization has expired, then what you need to do is turn in a market manager application, which you can request from WIC. If you're a new market manager who has never been trained on WIC before, you'll need to also request that they schedule you for an online training session. And then with the application, you'll need to send in a list of WIC authorized farmers selling at your market, and it needs to include that at least one WIC authorized farmer. I think this group is mainly farmers and market managers, but you may get questions from the recipients of the benefits. So if you get folks asking you how to enroll in the program for WIC, you will direct them to their local WIC office. And as well, if they come with the old card that only has the magnetic stripe on the back and no QR code, you'll just ask them to check in with their local WIC office to get that card swapped out. And for the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, CDFA has a webpage, which when we send out the slide deck, it is linked here, where they can check their eligibility, and then their best point of contact will be their local area agency on aging. Awesome. So I just threw a bunch of information out pretty quickly. Wanted to do a quick recap and pause for questions before we continue. So to summarize, California is transitioning to an electronic payment system for the senior and WIC Farmers Market Nutrition programs this year. That is going to have some benefits for you all. One is that it's an all-in-one online portal with the transaction, deposits, and reports all in the same place. And then of course, those WIC cash value benefits funds will now be easier to use year round at farmers markets. What you need to do next, if you haven't already, if you want to participate in the program, you're going to want to, for farmers, submit your WIC Farmer application along with the first page of your CPC, and then wait to hear from WIC to complete that training process. For farmers market managers and operators, check to make sure your market's WIC authorization is current by emailing the WIC FMNP email there. And then if it's not current, make sure you submit your market manager application and schedule a training if you need it. Okay, we're going to go ahead and pause for questions. You can either click on the raise hand button to raise your hand, or you can type your question in the chat. Got a good question from Liliana. Does this also go for egg-only farmers? I'm going to answer, but if anybody wants to fact check me, feel free. I believe eggs are not included because the WIC side is fruits, vegetables only, and then the senior side is fruits, vegetables, and honey only. And that same meat and dairy products, I believe, are also excluded. Oh, thank you, Katie. Any other questions? Hester is asking, when do farmers get a PIN to get into the app? That would be on the, I believe on the WIC side once you complete the application and get the notice of authorization and you're getting trained on how to set up your vendor account. Oh, interesting. Katie, if you're able to take this question, I think it might be more suited to you and your team of tech assistance contractors. I have actually not seen the actual vendor portal in action just yet, so I'm not entirely sure what the issue that Hester is referring to is.
Yeah, it's hard to troubleshoot without seeing exactly what the issue is. But if the farmers have been able to access, like get to the website, but not able to log in, it might be that they need to create an account. I wonder, maybe the farmer haven't received it yet. Yeah, so my best guess would be that they have accessed the website, but just haven't created an account yet. And we have some sort of step-by-step materials that are sent along in the email when farmers get their notice of authorization from WIC that tells them how to set up their account. And yeah, that would be my best guess, but it is hard to diagnose without seeing the actual sort of situation. If you want, you can email me. I'll put my email in the chat. Also, hi, I'm Katie. I work at the CDFA and I oversee the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, and I am more well-versed than I would like to be on how to get farmers set up. So I'm going to put my email in here, and Hester, if you want to contact me directly, maybe I can help troubleshoot with you.
Thank you, Katie. And thanks for taking some time out of your day today to join us. Mariana is asking, I understand that the farmers market must be WIC approved in order for vendors to accept WIC benefits. Where can I find an official list of WIC approved farmers markets? So unfortunately, the 2025 list is not up yet, but when WIC does publish it, it will be on the CDPH WIC website for webpage for farmers markets, which we will be linking in the slide deck that's shared out with attendees of this webinar. All right, last call for questions. Go ahead, Erin.
Hi. Excuse me. I wonder, since we have someone from CFA WIC, I think, on the line, I am a farmer who is also, we also run a couple farmers markets out in the coastside part of San Mateo County. And so I have two questions or concerns. One is that one of our markets is in a spot where cell phone reception doesn't matter what your data plan is, it's really sketchy. I'm curious if there's any kind of alternative, like I know there is with CalFresh for online vouchers, or if it happens to be a day when our reception is just crummy, if there's any alternatives for being able to serve those folks. And then my larger concern is that also as a farmer, last week I was here with two of the folks that work with my farms, and we could not for the life of us get additional phone numbers registered, so that Rocio and Crescencia could actually get that onto their phones. And I'm curious if there's any kind of a troubleshooting document or something along those lines, that someone could direct us to, so that we can handle that a little bit more easily. So those are my questions.
Annie, do you want me to hop in?
Go for it. Thank you. I think you're going to be very popular today, Katie.
Popular, air quotes. So your first question about the cell service issue, this is like the one thing that we don't have a good answer for, and I just don't know what to say. If there's no cell service, we don't have an online option, or excuse me, an offline option to conduct transactions. So if there's no cell service, transactions can't be conducted, which is a huge flaw in the system that we recognize and unfortunately just can't really do anything about. This doesn't help you for this season or maybe even next, but I am hoping that in the future there will be Proposition 4 funding that will become available to help farmers and markets get like satellite Wi-Fi systems. It's specifically called out as a line item to support senior and WIC FMNP. So I'm hoping that funding comes in soon, because I know that this is important for our kind of rural areas, especially if there's only one market for a very large, swath of land. And then again, it's kind of hard to troubleshoot if I don't know exactly what's going on, but I do know that the farmers receive, I think maybe like 4 onboarding documents when they receive their notice of authorizations that tells them how to set up an account. So they just need to have internet access, and they need to be on a device that has like a web browser, so Chrome, Safari, Firefox, and then they can set up an account. I can provide maybe to Annie the list or all of the help documents. We call them quick reference guides that tell people how to set up an account. And Annie, I don't know if you'd be able to kind of forward those to folks. That sounds like it might be helpful.
Yeah, let's go ahead and try that. If you send this to me and you're fine with me sharing those out, we can include that in the packet that we email to folks at the end of this webinar.
Yeah, thankfully it would be real helpful, because I did have all of those documents. We had everything, we had everybody, and we just were not able to add more than my phone number to get everyone on at that point. So if you do want to send those again, that would be terrific. And I'll stay in touch if we continue to have problems. Thanks.
Awesome, great questions. And I want to just call out, Andy was asking, where do I find a list of farms and their application statuses to see who I need to nudge? Thank you for doing that. Again, that also has not been published yet, but Katie answered that she can provide that information if you email her or email her counterpart at WIC, Nancy, whose email is also in the chat there. Great. We're going to move on, and there will be another question and answer session at the very end of the webinar. So if you have any additional questions that come up, feel free to pop them in the chat and we will address them at the end. Interesting. It looks like somebody's been making some artwork on the slides here. Is anybody else seeing these red marks?
Yes.
I think we can continue with them, but if you're able to figure out what's going on, Lauren, and remove them, that would be great. I'll give us a little bit of time to see if we can troubleshoot that, but if not, we'll just carry on.
Annie, I'm kind of afraid to mess with it. They're like permanently there on my end. So
How interesting. Can you try refreshing the page maybe?
yeah, one sec.
It looks like it's actually in the Zoom. So if Lauren, if you go to the bottom left above the audio, there's a little button that's going to show up with a little pen. If you click that, there's going to be a little eraser button.
Beautiful. We're learning something new about our technology every day.
Lauren, perfect.
Okay, is it gone?
There are 2 green check marks
Oh,
floating out on the right-hand side.
who is doing this?
All right. Great. Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you, Jenna.
Awesome. Okay, and Lauren, can you start us on slide number 19? Great. So for the next part of this webinar, we're going to walk you through what to expect as you complete your WIC application and get set up to accept WIC and Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program payments. This is the authorization process for farmers. Market managers, your authorization process is basically just steps 1, 2, and 3. For farmers, as we mentioned previously, do remember that even those who were authorized last year need to complete this process this year because of the new electronic payment system. So step 1, which you'll want to do as soon as you possibly can, is to submit the WIC Farmer application along with the first page of your CPC. And after WIC receives it, they will process it and they will schedule you for a mandatory authorization training. After you complete the training, you'll receive your notice of authorization from WIC and be instructed on how to create your online vendor portal, which will prompt you to submit your bank account information, submit your W-9. And when all of this is done, you'll be contacted by Katie's team from CDFA to help you set up some time to do live testing training at farmers markets. And once that is all done, you'll be ready to start accepting payments. So this might seem like a lot of hoops to jump through, but please remember that you do only need to reauthorize every 3 years, and the future authorization process will most likely be a lot less complicated because your online vendor account will already be set up. And also remember that getting authorized gives you access to those WIC cash value benefits that we talked about earlier, which is a much larger source of revenue than you might remember getting from the Farmers Market Nutrition Program checks in past years. Next, please. So this is what the WIC Farmer application looks like. To help your application get processed as quickly as possible, make sure you fill out everything accurately and completely. In section 1, make sure your personal information is correct. Section 2, you'll either want to have your market manager sign off, or you'll want to submit the first page of your current CPC. And section 3 is for WIC staff, so you can leave that blank. And then next slide, please. So on page 2, you're going to submit the WIC authorized markets that you attend. And again, the 2025 list hasn't been published yet. So if you need information, you can ask your market managers, or specifically the market number has been tripped some people up. You can leave that blank if you can't find the market number, but make sure the market name, the market location, and the hours of operation are accurate. And lastly, you're going to want to sign and date your application. It does say certified producer signature there, so make sure that at least one of your CPC holders signs the application. And once you're all done, you're going to mail your completed application and the first page of your CPC to the address on the first page of the form, or you can send an electronic copy to the WIC FMNP email that's listed at the bottom of the slide. Next. So this is just the same slide from earlier, the general flow of the process. Again, you'll turn in your application and do that as soon as possible. Once you turn it in, you'll be contacted to complete the WIC authorization and training. You'll receive your notice of authorization from WIC and be instructed on how to set up your vendor account. Then you will test and train at the market, and then you'll be ready to start accepting payments. I did hear that WIC is processing a very large number of applications right now. So if you haven't already submitted your WIC Farmer application, or for market managers, your market manager application, we do encourage you to do this as soon as possible so you don't miss out when customers start coming to markets with their new WIC and senior farmers market cards. All right, so once you're fully authorized and set up to start taking payments, you'll want to make sure that you send your team with everything they need to run transactions at the market. This means you must have your WIC and Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program signs that WIC will mail to you after you become authorized. You will also need at least one smartphone or tablet with a camera and a connection to Wi-Fi or a cellular data plan. And lastly, you're going to want to make sure your team has the correct login information to get into that vendor account. A tip that CDFA has given is to put a sticker on the inside of your cash box that has the username, email, and a clue to the password, so that if they forget, they can reference that sticker. Katie has made a template of these stickers, and we will share them out with the resources packet after this webinar. All right, so since those of you who are farmers will be receiving training and documents from CDPH and CDFA about the transaction process and refunds and all of that good stuff as part of the authorization process, we're only going to go over the basics of what a transaction looks like today. So when a customer comes to make a purchase with you using a WIC or Senior Farmers Market card, what you're going to do is log into your vendor account and start a new purchase. You're going to get your camera ready and then scan the QR code on the front of the customer's card. At this point, WIC customers will need to enter a 4-digit PIN number. The seniors will not have a PIN number, so you'll just ask them to confirm their purchase amount. You'll enter the total dollar amount to be processed, and then you're going to hit submit purchase, and you should get a notification on the account that says purchase succeeded. And again, you'll get training and reference documents from CDPH and CDFA about transactions, balance checks, refunds, and anything else you need to know to run transactions at the market. We'll also include some resources about solving common tech issues at the with the appendix of the slide deck that we're going to send out after the webinar. Okay, so we're nearing the end here. Wanted to share some resources available to folks in the first year of this of the electronic payment system. So AIM did receive some grant funding from CDFA to host this webinar and also to provide some support at farmers markets. So what we're going to be doing is we will have 2 to 3 bilingual tech support assistants to help with customer questions and transaction problems at our markets. One of them has actually already started working with us. So Liliana, if you want to give everybody a quick wave or say hello in the chat, that would be great. Sorry for putting you on the spot there.
Oh, see me? Oh, there. I think so. Hi, everyone. My name is Liliana. I'm learning about this new program as well. So I'm looking forward to help everyone and meet everyone at the farmers markets. I am bilingual. I do speak Spanish. So if you run into a problem, I'll do my best to help out. I look forward to seeing everyone at the farmers markets.
Thank you, Liliana.
Yeah.
She is also going to be supporting us with getting farmers, helping farmers with their WIC applications. So if you happen to have a question and need some support with getting your application in, let me know and I'll connect you all. In addition to our tech support assistants this year, we will also have a pretty limited number, but we will have some Wi-Fi hotspots available at AIM markets in case you run into any internet connection or cellular data connection problems. And those will be available to be loaned out for the market day. And then again, we will be sharing the webinar recording, the slide deck, and some additional resources by email to all attendees. And you can feel free to share these resources with your fellow market managers and farmers who weren't able to attend today. So lastly, these are a couple contacts you can reach out to if you need support. For farmers who participate in AIM markets, I'm your point of contact for the WIC and Senior Farmers Market Nutrition programs. There's my email there. PCFMA has a dedicated email address for WIC and Senior FMNP questions for farmers who participate in PCFMA markets. And then Katie, who is joining us on the call today, there's her email there again. And then if you are a technical support provider or market operator who can help with WIC and Senior FMNP questions, feel free to drop your contact and any resources you have in the chat. Great. So that brings us to the end of this presentation. We'll open it up for our last Q&A session. You can either type your question in the chat or you can click on the raise your hand button. And if we don't know the answer, we'll note down the question and find out for you and send that out with a frequently asked questions sheet that we'll email along with the slide deck. Questions, comments, if anybody on here has had any experience, good or bad, that they want to share, be great.
This is Katie again. I'll just say thank you, everyone, for bearing with us through this process. I know it's not fun, and it's, there's more paperwork, and it's definitely a big transition. So just thanks everyone for your patience and your grace as we try to, do as much as we can to make this transition good. And I know our seniors, just love this program. They're so excited, and thank you for taking the extra effort to help them get fresh fruits and vegetables. So yeah, thanks everyone. And thanks Annie and the AIM folks for putting on this webinar.
Hi, this is Erin popping in again. And I have a question to follow up on your comment, Katie. And that has to do, we often work very directly with our senior centers around you're so right, the seniors really, really love this program. And I'm curious if there's been any outreach from your end directly to the senior centers who normally by now are like all in with getting those checks out to seniors, because we know that we're hearing a lot. And I'm curious what our role as, we're fortunate enough to be working with PCFMA and being able to offer that match. We've offered match to the FNMP program for over a decade now. So I'm curious if there's been any direct conversation from CDPH or CDFA directly to the senior centers, or how that part of it's working.
Yeah, we've definitely been in direct contact. On the senior side, they're also getting, like all the senior centers are learning a whole new way to issue benefits. They have to have a online system, and they're issuing cards, and it's a whole new process that they're learning. We've instructed the majority of the AAAs to hold back the cards, until there's enough farmers that are onboarded, because what we don't want is to send a bunch of seniors to a market where none of the farmers have set up profiles. So this season is definitely going to be a little bit delayed. There are some exceptions to that in LA and Humboldt because they were able to get a lot of farmers onboarded early. But right now, I believe in, so are you in Monterey County?
San Mateo.
San Mateo, okay. Yeah, so we've been telling them to just hold off a little bit longer. I can tend to see like which farmers have set up an account and which haven't. And so if I see that there's not enough farmers at the markets in San Mateo County, I'll say, ooh, just wait a little bit longer.
Okay.
Is if you're in contact with them, because you will have the most granular level of detail of where your farmers are at. So definitely encourage you to keep in touch with them. And then maybe we can work together to get your farmers onboarded. And then once your farmers are onboarded, we'll say, okay, San Mateo, Senior Center, let's distribute those benefits.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've just been having a couple of conversations with the folks from Senior Co-Siders, and like I said, I'm also a farmer. I got your DM too, and that I feel kind of silly here because I've been doing this for 20 some odd years, and I got your email the other day that the markets needed to be reauthorized as well. And until I got that email, I had no idea. So we're actually, I thought we were fine because we just reauthorized last year. So we are actually writing down all our nice little WIC numbers, and we've been really on it with people, but I've just kind of been curious about some of the challenges that I've been a pretty hands-on both farmer and farmers market operator for a while. And I really have been finding myself being quite challenged, getting myself and my farm set up and the folks.
Yeah.
So we have some deep sympathy. I'm really delighted. We've got a really great promotora. She's on the phone right now. That's been helping a lot with some of the language issues. And but I've been very curious to watch all this work and or some of the snags that we're just finding are like, oh my, like how do we, as a rural market that has some resources and some great community goodwill, like how I'm actually quite concerned about what we're going to do around particularly Pacifica, where cell phone reception where we happen to be is pretty miserable. So anyway, I really appreciate everybody's responsiveness and your just like everybody kind of getting it, that it's going to be a bumpy transition. So thanks for your responses. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and again, please reach out to me directly or Nancy, my colleague, and we can do like individual level troubleshooting
Okay.
with the farmers. Yeah.
Well, you should see my nice things with all of our lovely WIC numbers coming back in this afternoon.
That's impressive.
On top of my desk. Thank you again for sending that out. We honestly just We were just doing everything with our number 141 and 142, having no idea until I got your email. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, so Hester is asking a clarifying question. Is it true that all farmers markets have to be reauthorized, even if our authorization is supposed to be good until 2026? And again, Katie, fact check me if I'm wrong, but from what I've understood so far, it is just the farmers who have to complete the new WIC authorization application. If the farmers markets authorizations are still good, you're good to go. Any other last questions? I am gonna pop a quick Google form survey in the chat. Would really appreciate all of your guys' feedback. And there's also a space on that Google form to enter any questions in that you come up with after you log off this webinar. And I'll see those responses and we'll include those questions and answers in our FAQ, frequently asked questions sheet, that we'll send out along with our slide deck here in the recording. And thank you again, everybody, for taking time out of your day to join us and to share all your questions and support each other in this quite large transition from paper checks all the way to an electronic payment system. Oh, one more question coming in. Mariana is asking, is there a fee for the WIC Farmer application? No, there is not. It's a free application. Awesome. Sounds like all the questions, the urgent questions have been answered. Thank you all again for joining and feel free to hop off if you have no further questions. I will stick around for a little bit just in case anybody has last minute questions.
Here we go.
Doesn't seem like anybody has any last questions, so I think we can go ahead and close the webinar. Arandira, once again, thank you for doing the live Spanish translation for us today. All right, Lauren, do you want to do the honors and close it out?
I do. Okay, bye.
Bye.